Hello, welcome to our program, Outside in Your Garden with the Pleasantville Garden Club. I'm Gigi.
And I'm Michael. And today we're at one of our master gardeners, Carolyn Ramsey's garden, which is looking beautiful right now, isn't it, Gigi?
Yes, it's fabulous.
And we're going to be talking about monarchs and other butterflies in our garden and how to increase habitat for them. There's a number of reasons why monarchs are declining, but one of them is the lack of habitat. And today we're going to be focusing on increasing the habitat in her garden.
Right. What she's doing. But you want to mention climate change?
Yeah, that's also another reason why there's a decline, and also pesticide use. And
yeah, definitely.
None of us use pesticides, so we've got that one covered, but we do need to increase the habitat.
You could tell by our lawns. We have beautiful weeds on our lawns. But today we're going to talk to Carolyn about what she specifically does in her garden to help promote butterflies, in particular monarchs, in their habitat. So let's go meet Carolyn.
Great.
So Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you, Gigi.
So happy to be in your beautiful garden. And also last weekend you were at the farmer's market and you were showing the monarchs. How did that go?
Oh, we had so much fun, Gigi. We set up a table and we had caterpillars eating their host plant milkweed. And one of the other club members, Josie, had brought some cages where she had caterpillars in various stages of metamorphosis.
Wow.
So the kids got to see the big fat caterpillar, and then they got to see the beautiful green chrysalis, and even some where the chrysalis had become transparent and you could see the red and black and orange of the monarch getting ready to emerge. And I have to say, while the kids were there, 4 different monarchs came out.
That's great.
It closed right in front of our eyes. It was wonderful.
And also, didn't you give away plants so that you spread the idea to people in their own yards, and then they're going to be helping the environment also?
Yes, the farmer's market was very generous, and they arranged for us to purchase a number of milk plants, and we gave away 1 per family. I think we gave away more than 60.
Wow.
So
that was a nice turnout.
It was a very nice turnout.
Yeah. So there's something that we could do, me in particular, that very easy, before we talk about the monarchs and the butterflies. Could you show me those 3 things that...
Sure.
Okay.
So as Michael mentioned earlier, butterflies need food, they need habitat, and something I hadn't thought of much before, they need water. So there are some very easy ways that you can provide those things for them. If you look around us, you see a wide array of native plants. And if you have at least 3 different varieties of plants blooming every month from June to October, you have enough different variety of nectar for them to have a nutritious meal every single day.
Right.
So one thing I'm doing, and I think many of us are doing, is trying to have something blooming all the time in the garden. That's one step you can take. Even easier step and super fun with kids is something I learned about a couple of years ago called puddling. Have you heard about it?
No, explain it to me, please.
Yeah, it's a fun term. So apparently, if you put a bird bath in your yard, the bird comes, stands on the edge, or gets in the middle, drinks and bathes. But butterflies don't operate that way. For some reason, a big tub of water is too much for them, so they need the water mixed. So what you can do at home in materials you have, this is just an old takeout container I took. You can take a little dirt, put it in the bottom like this.
Right.
You can add a little bit of sand like this. And this is not a baking recipe. Any combination really works, right?
Okay.
I feel like a little more dirt, so I'm going to add that. And then you add some water, and you want it to be a little bit watery because, they're going to extract water from it.
So they're going to extract the water from the dirt?
They are. So basically, you're making mud pies. You remember when you were a kid?
Yes.
So you're making mud pies for butterflies with a special ingredient. Turns out they need salts and minerals for their bodies just as we do. And sea salt is a great way to give it to them.
Sea salt.
Sea salt is what's recommended, yes.
Okay.
So I just grabbed the old sea salt from the
Wouldn't it be
kitchen.
wonderful if a butterfly would fly in right now and take a drink.
It would. So this doesn't look the way mine usually does. I have the one I keep in the garden here.
Okay, so it really is a mud pie. There's no puddles.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little bit of
Oh, I see.
liquid
Right.
here and there, but I will leave this out for 4 or 5 days and it will almost completely dry.
And then you water it again.
Yeah, and then
salt it again.
I pour a little, I only salt mine once a month. I don't
Okay.
know exactly what you're supposed to do, but too much salt isn't good for anyone, even the butterflies.
And the flat rock is important.
Oh, you know what? So butterflies, did you ever notice when they come out, they kind of hang out for a while before they start to fly? Turns out they need to be warm to fly.
Oh.
And the easiest way for them to get warm is to sit on a rock or a brick because those absorb the heat and stay warm longer.
Okay.
So we've brought some of the butterflies that we had enclosed in the house outside, placed them on here, and they'll sit on that rock for an hour or two. And science says they're warming up, getting the strength to go fly.
Wow. And there's one more thing, and that's an easy thing. At the end, we leave our leaves and...
Yes. So, I hear a lot about leaving the leaves, and I like to have a clean garden when I can, so I understand wanting to rake up. But what I've learned is that if I can find a place to the side of my garden, and that's how we do it at our house, and you leave those leaves, many other, not monarchs, but many other types of butterflies and moths use that to reproduce.
Okay.
The first stage of reproduction is cute little caterpillars.
Right.
Do you know who needs those caterpillars desperately besides the butterfly family?
The birds and and wasps or...
Yes.
I don't know that we need wasps. Do we need...
Well, the wasps are sort of on the fence, but they do pollinate quite a few fruits and
Oh,
vegetables.
okay.
So
All right.
they do serve a function even though they're annoying and sometimes scary.
So doing this helps the birds
Yes, because
stay away from the monarchs. And yes,
the birds
great
need
idea.
food the way we all do. And if they can't find it in other creatures, they're going to come and attack the monarch caterpillars, the swallowtail caterpillars. And by leaving the leaves, we give them more things to eat. So we protect those things indirectly.
It's great. That's great. I'm going to let Michael come on over and talk to you about your garden and your milkweed and your plants.
Oh,
Okay?
thank you.
All right.
Hi, Carolyn, in your lovely garden here, which is looking beautiful at this time of year.
Thank
In
you.
this particular segment of the video, we're going to be talking about host plants for all kinds of butterflies, and then we're going to talk about host plants for monarchs. So would you like to tell us some of the host plants that you have?
Oh, sure. Maybe I would start by explaining the concept of host plants,
That's even better,
which
yeah.
is relatively new for me. So I knew that butterflies needed nectar for calories so
Right.
that they can fly. But what I never really thought about is what do their young eat?
What do their caterpillars eat?
Yeah, so they lay eggs on plants, and it's not random at all, Michael.
No, it's not.
They have to have a particular flavor, if you will, for each species.
That's right.
So, for example, this is a dark purple aster, which will start blooming, I'd say mid-September. And the painted lady butterfly lays her eggs on this, and then the egg hatches and the little caterpillar eats the leaves.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter that it's not blooming right now. It's
Yes.
the leaves that the caterpillar are eating. Right?
Absolutely. And it's kind of been a new way of thinking for me the last few years, that it's a good thing if someone's eating the leaves of my plant.
Yes.
It means that another species is growing, and that's something that's very important for all of us.
Yeah, traditionally gardeners are horrified whenever they see holes in leaves, right? But
Yes.
not anymore.
And it's funny because people will say, oh, I see holes in my leaves. What should I spray?
Right.
And I always answer, well, I try not to spray because no pesticides is the way to support the insect population and the birds and everybody. So that is the aster we have here. I also have, not here, but I have fennel and parsley for swallowtails.
Yep, that's really wonderful.
And then down below, one of my favorites, and I really hope we get to talk about today, is milkweed.
Yes.
If you look carefully, you can see this milkweed, which I grew from seed last year, is finally blooming. I'm very grateful. The blooms, again, they're good for nectaring, but it's those leaves that the baby caterpillars need to eat.
Right. And you've also got some more milkweeds here, don't you?
Michael, I can't resist to fill in the garden.
No.
And I'm really trying when I'm adding to my garden, or if there's a plant that doesn't do well, when I add something new, I'm trying to make it be native, preferably a host plant to support these beautiful butterflies.
That's great. So today we're going to plant a couple of your milkweeds here.
Wonderful.
Let's do that.
Okay. So I like to buy these landscape plugs. They are grown by growers, and if you look carefully, that is a glorious root system.
It's got a lovely root. And
So-
actually one thing interesting about the milkweed is that it has a bit of a tap root, doesn't it?
Yes.
So therefore it's good to get it in a pot that's got a bit of depth to it.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And I've got this one nice and soaked
Yep.
because the process of being planted is a little bit traumatic. But one thing that's great about these native host plants, they don't need a lot of care.
No.
It's a carefree gardening
Yep.
plant.
So
So
dig a nice deep hole.
nice deep hole so that when I pop this in, the level of the soil
Right.
is going to be just flush with the level of that plug.
Perfect.
And, you know, next summer, this is going to be 3 or 4 times the size. Let's put one more,
Put
shall
one
we?
more in, I think so.
Look at those roots. I
always do this too, which is just tease the roots apart a little bit to help them get growing off in the right direction once they're in the dirt.
pop that right in there. And it's good to
This
go.
is going to be lovely, a little orange splash here, right?
Well, and you know what's nice is that monarchs fly looking for their plant.
Yes.
So if you put 3 or 5 or 7 of the same thing in one spot,
Right.
it's easier for them to find it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to do as my garden evolves.
Yeah, lovely.
Now, if you look carefully, you see this has quite a different leaf. It's thinner
Yep.
and wider. This one is called swamp milkweed.
Right.
Gets to be about 4 or 5 feet tall and has very nice young tender leaves. And I find the monarchs absolutely love to lay their eggs on it. So later on today, I'm going to plant these over in another spot.
Yep. And the pink and the orange, they're both native
Yes.
milkweeds to this area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention that I love all milkweeds, and the one that's most striking to my eye is the tropical milkweed.
Right.
It's got that electric red and orange color to it. The thing is, it keeps blooming and blooming and blooming, and in late September,
Right.
when it should stop blooming, so they know, aha,
They
it's
have
time
a cue to go south.
Yes, it's
Right.
time to fly to Mexico. They don't get that message from that plant
Because it keeps blooming.
because it keeps blooming. And, you know, we plant it because it's beautiful.
Right.
So, and it's kind of hard to cut off the blossoms to fool the monarch, if you will. So
So better to stick with the natives.
I really think so.
Yes.
I really think so.
Yeah. So thank you, Carolyn. This was really informative. I think we've covered most points with the monarchs and with all the butterflies. And it's lovely to see that you're doing so much. And we've seen a lot of butterflies today, even in the few minutes that we've been here.
So
that's
much
great.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, Michael.
Thank you.